top 10 stunning churches and cathedrals in the world. Number 1 is Basilica San Marco. The Basilica San Marco is supposed to be the main strict sanctuary of Venice. The sheer size of this structure ought to address its significance, as it is really gigantic. It was worked by the Byzantine Empire, and its objective was to speak to the force that they employ, a point very much made. Being assembled route in 1063, this sanctuary is nearly arriving at its 1000th birthday celebration, a fantastic accomplishment and a genuine demonstration of the expertise of the individuals who fabricated it. It genuinely is a colossal structure, having more than 4,000 square meters and mosaics everywhere on the structure. There is likewise free passage to visit this display, an offer that you should take up in the event that you actually visit. Number 2 is St. Vitus Cathedral. The St. Vitus Cathedral holds the high honor of being Prague's biggest and most significant strict organization. It was no little accomplishment to make this either. Development began in the mid-1300s and was done right in the 1600s. The explanation behind this ludicrously long development time is in reality because of the Hussite Wars. From that point forward, significant changes were all the while happening as far as possible up to approximately 1929. Yet now just minor changes are being made just as broad upkeep. Remembered for this cathedral is the imperial grave in which individuals of exclusive requirement in their separate time are covered. Furthermore, kings and queens were confirmed here. To believe that one day you may stroll in a similar spot as they have sure is an astonishing idea. With everything taken into account, this cathedral has been a significant milestone all through time and stays to be a position of interest today. Number 3 is Kölner Dom. The Kölner Dom is stunning. The most elevated purposes of this cathedral reach as high as 515 feet, which is amazing for pretty much any structure, not to mention a real structure you can go into. Despite the fact that it stands sublimely now, it certainly had an uneven beginning. Construction for this behemoth began thinking back to the 1200s. However, development halted because of an absence of interest in its style in the 1600s and was required to be postponed for more than 300 years, one again being done during the 1900s. The structure likewise confronted some trouble as it was bombarded back in World War II, yet some way or another stayed standing. Because of its enormous size, the structure needs steady support from any climate harm. It is named as a perpetual building site. Notwithstanding being a milestone now, it additionally served to be an extremely noticeable journey objective for the pioneers of Europe. Number 4 is St. Paul's Cathedral. The St. Paul's Cathedral is another bit of craftsmanship that is ready with history. Situated in London, it is a highlight of the town and wouldn't be the equivalent without it. It is a gigantic structure that fills in as a Christian sacred spot. The latest interpretation of this cathedral began in the last part of the 1600s after its archetype was torched in the Great Fire of London. While as yet being a church, it is additionally an exceptionally mainstream place of interest, known for its excellent structures and superb canvases situated on the rooftop. It has a day-by-day occasion schedule too and is continually kept up. There is likewise an implicit check tower in one of the columns, and the passage is suggestive of extremely old Greek structures too. Regardless of whether you don't enjoy sacred places, this cathedral is an absolute necessity in case you're ever in London. Number 5 is Hagia Sophia. The Hagia Sophia implies business. It's almost the size of a modest community. The church has changed numerous hands consistently. Being a valued ownership of the Byzantiums, the Ottomans, and now of the Turkish. There are even numerous burial places found near the church, containing a few imperial relatives. While it has had various proprietors, its motivation has additionally changed as time passed. It was initially a church, at that point transformed into a mosque, and is at present a museum. It is a dazzling bit of work that truly draws out the time it was from. Going back much farther, the Hagia Sophia began being implicit 360, it is mind-boggling that it has endured this long. Clearly, however, a great deal of work and care has gone into the reclamation and upkeep of this cherished structure. It is a lovely cut of history and merits more acknowledgement. Number 6 is Montana St. Michel Abbey. Returning much further ever, we have the Montana St. Michel Abbey Church. It is astounding to see such a masterpiece stand the trial of time, as this present church's set of experiences begins right in 708. This congregation was an exceptionally mainstream objective, being visited by a large number of pioneers and even a few lords. The congregation is likewise generally liable for our archaic information, since such countless archives and compositions were kept consistently, giving us some superb essential sources into the past. Not just did it fill in as a heavenly spot, but instead it was additionally utilized in wartime, having inherent guards. It is for all intents and purposes a valid manor from the good old days. These days Montana St. Michel Abbey is in effect continually kept up and is a scene being delighted in by a plenty of individuals. On the off chance that you need to go see some great valid design, this is certainly the spot to go. Number 7 is Duomo di Milano. Duomo di Milano premieres on this rundown as one of the more ordinary-looking cathedrals. In spite of the fact that saying this doesn't imply that it isn't eminent in its own respect. While it might follow the style of numerous cathedrals before it, Duomo di Milano stands apart for its sheer size just as its set of experiences. Presently, in the event that you thought the 1500s were old, this structure adds an additional 300 years to that. Truth be told, the development for this cathedral began thinking back to the 1300s. There were numerous colleagues on this venture, truth be told numerous to such an extent that the first creator is obscure. More than 6 centuries, this structure has and keeps on being dealt with and is a very signified part of Italy's set of experiences. With more than 100 feet roof and stunning columns, it is fantastic to imagine that we as people had the option to actually achieve this. Number 8 is St. Basil's Cathedral. This cathedral is one you have presumably observed before, regardless of whether you've never heard the name. St. Basil's Cathedral is a madly huge cathedral and is a lovely structure. This is additionally one of the more seasoned cathedrals on the rundown, as it was constructed thinking back to the 1500s. With its age likewise comes a ton of history. St. Basil's was charged by, as a matter of fact, Ivan the Terrible after a fruitful catch of hostilaria. It was finished in just 6 years. Something which none of different churches on this rundown had the option to do. St. Basil's Cathedral is the milestone of Russia, and it unquestionably shows, however, its dazzling plan. Number 9 is Cathedral of Brasilia. Next up is the House of Prayer of Brasilia, which is a stunning bit of work and was made by the famous designer, Oscar Niemeyer. The structure is made of around 20 bended solid segments which start at the ground and meet at the top, bearing a nearby likeness of a crown. Interfacing every single segment is an enormous bit of stained glass that makes a superb picture, just as the roof. As large for what it's worth, it just truly includes one principal room, beautified with strict figures and seating for supplication. It's an extraordinary masterpiece, and it is exceptionally astonishing that it just took one individual to plan. In spite of the fact that it was an extremely huge task, the genuine development took path longer than anticipated at an astounding 10 years because of an overage of development projects at that point. At the point when things quieted down, the cathedral was done and was then opened to the public 2 years after. Number 10 is Salt Cathedral of Zipaquira. Beginning, we have one of the more interesting cathedrals, the Salt Cathedral of Zipaquira. This cathedral is found 600 feet profound and is made out of a previous salt mine. Truth be told, business mining was occurring in that very zone only 2 centuries prior. It began as a minuscule safe haven, one that excavators would supplicate in prior to taking off on their hazardous excursion. From that point forward, it has developed into the tremendous scene that it is today. Blue lighting enlightens the huge caves as though there is a little lake inside. The cathedral had a harsh start, however, with some primary issues hindering its finish. However, the issues were outperformed, and now the Salt Cathedral of Zipaquira acquires more than 600,000 individuals consistently.